Hello, my name is Florianny Reyes, and this is my Capstone project on empowering students through language, Spanish interventions, and academic self-concept in MLLs. So, my goals and objectives with this project was to strengthen multilingual learners' academic confidence by addressing their social and emotional needs. And multilingual learners, they're basically students who are new to the country and they don't speak English, or students who are American but at home they speak another language other than English, so they need extra support. And I had two phases with this project. The first phase was a research phase where I proposed a new intervention model for ML programs that incorporate students' native language into their learning, and then I had a practical phase where I educated college students on MLLs and had a book on the MLL experience. But why do we care about this? Well, multilingual learners, they make up a significant and growing portion of the US student population, which makes up 10.6% of students. These are 5.3 million students that are not getting their optimal education that they should be getting because of the US education assimilation policies that marginalize minority students' cultural and linguistic identities by viewing English as the sole valid language of education. And this can be seen in policies like the Bilingual Education Act, which was turned into the English Acquisition Act, which has this deficiency model where students are seen as deficient because they lack what is needed to be successful because they don't know English. And this creates this view for multilingual learners where they have low pedagogical caring, which is how they view how their schools and teachers care about them, and overall it leads to them having low confidence. And I've seen this as a volunteer at an elementary school where I saw the students seem disconnected from their learning. And they say things like, I don't know English, I don't know anything because I don't know English. But when I encourage them to use their native language, to use Spanish, to complete work, they actually do attempt to try it because that's an avenue for them to learn and engage. And the way that I tested this through my research process was that I had an intervention, a parallel teaching intervention, where the teacher would read to the students that's normal in their classroom a short story and then ask them to participate. And then I also did a reinforcement where I would read to the students in Spanish the same short story, and I would ask them comprehensive questions or vocabulary questions as the teacher needed from them. And then I tested this through the Berkeley Puppet interview, where I would interview the students, asking them questions on their competence and achievement. And I would ask questions like the puppet would say things like, I'm smart, I'm not smart. And then the students would choose whichever puppet they related to the most, and I would put that into a scale. And then I also did a open-ended interview where students were asked to draw something that happened to them in school, and then I would draw along with them and told them my own story as an MLO, and I would ask them questions about their experience. The results of this study was that students seemed to maintain a positive self-concept or confidence before and after the intervention, but the changes that they demonstrated was that they had a modest improvement in their achievement motivation, which is how much effort or participation they put into classroom or learning. And the reason that I was determined why there wasn't much of a change in their self-concept was because from previous research students, they as they start their education, in particular MLLs, they are confident in their education, and as they go through the system, they experience discrimination and other challenges that diminishes their self-confidence and their motivation. So the results of this project was that students they maintain a positive overall self-concept before and after the intervention, but they seem to demonstrate a modest improvement in their achievement motivation, which is how much effort they put into their education or their participation in the classroom. And the reason why from previous research that I was able to determine that they had an not much of a change in their self-concept is because from previous research, when students they start their education, they have high motivation and high confidence, but as they go through their education system and they experience discrimination and challenges, they lower that confidence. And so what they suggest is to have a more of a longitudinal research where it tests students as they grow and see how the intervention has an effect on that, or to have this project with older students to see how that the results could change. And so another portion of the study was that I had a workshop where I had an audience of human development students and Connecticut college students, and we did activities like a simulated MLO experience with a science lesson in Spanish, and I also shared my story as an MLO, and I educated students on the policy enforcing English-only classrooms and inclusive strategies and the MLO experience, social emotional experience. And I also made a book. It's called Words That Pop, and it's about me when I was an MLS student and how I struggled with a music class where I had to play the flute, but my teacher didn't speak Spanish, so I couldn't understand the lesson, and I broke my flute so that I didn't have to play it anymore. And the moral of the story is that intelligence can look different for everyone, but it is not defined by a language or culture. In the wins and losses with this project, I'm happy to say that I was able to improve achievement motivation in students, and I was able to create a space for students to use their funds of knowledge and give awareness on the ML experience. And from the lessons that I had, I was supposed to create a translator volunteer program, but the school seems to have other supports in that area, so I decided not to go with that route. And then I also was supposed to give out my book on an event day, but I'll do that some other way. And then for my future plans, I want to have the book available on Amazon, and I want to continue volunteering as an MLL, as for MLLs, and I want to work as a medical assistant, go abroad to Korea, and apply for medical school. Thank you.